Welcome to Mediumship Matters, the podcast dedicated to spiritual growth, connection, and the reality of working with spirit. This season is proudly sponsored by Spirit Social, the brand new online community for the spiritually curious. It's a space where you can connect, share experiences, and access exclusive content without the noise of mainstream social media. With live events, expert insights, and a supportive community, Spirit Social is the place to deepen your journey. Take part in the free 6-month trial by visiting spiritsocial.co or downloading the app from the App Store now. Hello and welcome to Mediumship Matters with me, Hannah McIntyre. How are you doing? Just checking I've got the mic the right way round. It's a professional setup we've got going on here, no doubt. So today I wanted to talk to you all about those moments in your spiritual journey where it feels like spirit have left and you are completely alone, and what that means for you as a light worker, as somebody who's connected, and the impact that can have. Now, this episode has been inspired by a wonderful human being who I did a spiritual assessment with yesterday and had been experiencing this exact problem. And it was really a real eye opener for me, because as we were talking, I said, the thing is, this happens to us all at times. It's just that nobody talks about it. And just like a big heckle from the universe, I got a, well, are you talking about it? And I thought, well, maybe I'm not. So here we are with a freshly inspired. I was going to do something else today for tomorrow's podcast, but here we are. This is where we're at. Let's talk about it. So in my journey personally, I have found that there have been moments where it has very much felt to me in my moments of need like spirit have left the building, like they're no longer around. And this has been really damaging to me, if I'm honest, because it's like reaching out for an energetic high five to your team and them leaving you hanging. And I think we can all appreciate and understand logically that spirit haven't gone anywhere, but it feels like it. So let's talk about this. Why is it, and what impact does that have on you as a medium? And how much of this is by design? So, in the moments where it's happened to me, I've been under extreme duress. So, these have been moments where I've been very stressed, very worried about something terrible has happened in my life. And you're sort of leaning into spirit, going, hi, are you there? And it feels like radio silence. But there has also been moments when that has happened when I've been very unwell as well and physically ill. And I think this is the point. We understand, don't we, that spirit are always with us. Um, and at risk of sounding really ominous, they don't really have a choice in that. They're omnipresent. They're always there. There is no escape from spirit. But I think the process of being aware of spirit is like tuning in a radio to a particular frequency, to a particular station. And when we have these moments in our lives where chaos reigns, when the bottom falls out of our world, the carpet is pulled from under our feet, when we have those moments, it's like interference on our radio station. I live near the coast of Dover, so quite often we will find that we're driving along listening to a radio station and all of a sudden you start picking up a French one. Sometimes we go for walks along the cliffs and you'll get that text message from your phone provider saying, welcome to France. And you're like, I haven't even left the soil of the UK. It's that interference. And I think that that is exactly what happens to us. And it's problematical because, let's be honest, if you can't lean on spirit and receive them in your moments of real dire need, then it's very lonely. And it can really impact how you feel about spirit, your spirit team, and your connection. And I find that for me, quite often, these moments where I'm losing my faith in my ability and losing my faith in spirit, if I'm honest, are often triggered by something unexpected happening to me in that moment that starts it all off. So, for example, as I think you guys all know, I do try not to bleat on about it, but I had a period of time couple of years ago, so it would be 2023, where I was essentially ill for a year. I think I caught COVID 6 times. I re no ongoing chest infection. My hair was falling out. I had no energy. And in those moments, it was really, really hard to communicate with spirit. But worse than that, for me personally, I didn't get any signs or any warnings that this was going to come and this was going to happen. And this really reminds me of a wonderful student of mine um, who really sadly and unexpectedly and quite quickly passed away from stomach cancer. And it's always been one of the weirdest, biggest regrets of my journey, how that all unfolded. So she was a student I worked with online. I had spent at least seen her once a week. We'd had multiple messages from spirit guides, from spirit coming in, that kind of stuff all the time, all the time. And she came and did an angelic Reiki in person course with me, spent 3 days in her company, and she had huge amounts of healing. And I will never forget her dad coming through on a spirit board and telling her to stop smoking. But not once did spirit warn her that she had stomach cancer. Not once did any of us who were healing her have any inclination that there was something going on there that would need medical assistance. Her dad didn't mention it when he came through on the spirit board. And I remember her messaging me from hospital and saying, I feel betrayed by spirit. And it was horrendous and heartbreaking. And I, in honesty, didn't know what to say to her because, if I'm honest, I felt betrayed by spirit. I felt betrayed that we had spent all this time in each other's company, all this time tuning into her energy, and it had not been picked up in any way, shape, or form. And by the time it was found, it was too late. And she only had, I think it was a matter of days before she moved into the spirit world. And interestingly, I think for that particular person as well, they've never come through. I would love to hear from her and know that she's okay. She's never come through yet. And so I'm always waiting and hoping that she will. And I think that is something fascinating about our connection with spirit. And you know, it's easy, isn't it? When you are right at the beginning of your journey to kind of gaslight yourself with all the spiritual teachings that are out there, that the reason you were ill or the reason you felt unaligned or this, that, or the other is because you weren't living a spiritual life. And now you're living a spiritual life. So you're rewarded for that. Yeah. So when the shit hits the fan, when you've been doing all the good stuff, you've been meditating, you've been taking care of your body, you've removed yourself from stress, your boundaries are better, you're no longer hemorrhaging energy on assholes. When all of those things occur, you, we can't help but think there's going to be some sort of payoff. And we can't help but feel betrayed if that big payoff doesn't come. You look at me with my migraines and the number of people that have given me pseudo advice, kind of patronizing commentary on my migraines. And for a long time, I kept thinking that I was the problem, that I was doing something wrong, that if I was good enough, spiritual enough, if I jumped through these different levels of spiritual goodness, that I wouldn't get migraines anymore. I still get them, and recently I've been trying to do a bit more meditation just to ground my energy because with Spirit Social and everything, I feel like I've tuned into some radio station of creativity and expansion, but it's noisy. There's so many ideas in there that it's it's like drinking. I don't know, I've never had a Monster Energy drink, but I imagine it's like drinking a Monster Energy drink. I'm lying in bed at night and my brain is whirring and I need to settle down. I need to be where I am. I need to ground myself. There's no money left. I can't add any more features than I've got coming up because there's nothing left to do. So I'm stuck at the moment. So it's no good spending days where I want to be when I've got to be happy where I am. And so I've been meditating. Now, the number of people that told me if I meditated more, my migraines would lessen. They're not. They're not. They're still there. They're still coming in. In fact, in the last week, I've been woken up twice with them during the night. So I'm sound asleep and I wake up and I go, why am I awake? Oh my goodness, I'm having a migraine. And I think it would be easy to blame spirit. I've had so much healing. I'm a triple Reiki master. I've spent hours and hours and hours on my healing journey and hours on what is in alignment with me and pulling myself out of situations that don't feel good so that I can look after myself. I'm been on this diet. I've been looking after myself. I've been sugar free. I've been eating loads of vegetables. I've been working out, and yet I'm still getting migraines. And I think in this situation, the easiest thing to do really is blame spirit, like it's some sort of cosmic joke. Like, I'm doing everything you asked. Why aren't you looking after me? I don't know how much control they have over those things. And I think for some people, these things can be healed, and for others, they can't. And I think there's something to do here with soul contracts and the life we agreed to live before we got here, and the soul's desire for things that we have to overcome, the soul's desire to experience resistance. Because there is no resistance in spirit, there is no unwellness in spirit. I think we are really responsible for our energy. But we have to accept within that we're humans, that chaos reigns, that life is difficult, and that sometimes that is going to impact our connection to spirit and cut it off. What I find really fascinating is in these moments where I've been having real difficulties, there has been a real lack of signs from spirit. It's funny at the moment, I'm back on feathers, and birds of prey. These seem to be my two big signs at the moment. I'm getting angel numbers too. Um, but it's really fascinating to me that when I was having those really difficult times, there were no signs. It felt like signs were switched off. The other day, I walked out into my garden. And there was no bird in the sky that I could see, but a white feather just floated down in front of me. It was magnificent and so powerful in that moment, in that way that signs to you when they're for you are, and to everybody else they feel like nothing. And I just thought that is so incredible. But at the moment, it's funny because I know I'm on the right path. I know I am. I can feel it. And so it's not that I don't like the signs, because I do. I'm really grateful for them, but they're kind of superfluous in a weird kind of way. It's lovely to have those little cosmic thumbs up that I'm doing good and I'm on the right path, but I kind of know I am. I can feel it. And yet when I was in a difficult space, it felt like that was turned off. And I do think there is something in signs where it is co-creative. There's I think there is some sort of limit. Or do I? Oh, I think there is something that is really interesting about signs. the number of people that message me and say, my mum promised she'd send me a sign, but I'm not getting them. And I think there is something to do with our energy that makes signs available to us. And it's a co-creative energy. There's a collaboration that needs to happen, even if it's between your soul and what's going on, that allows these things to happen. And again, what does that mean for us when we're in our darkest, dire moments and it feels like we get nothing? And yet, here's the thing, we can feel like we get nothing, but more often than not, we're disregarding what we get. And I find that funny too. So, just like that first story from when I was sat in my first circle, and I think it was week 3 or 4, and I choked on my own dribble, and I saw a fully formed um, apparition of a spirit for a long time, not seconds, minutes, and many of them, and how mind blowing that is. There's this weird thing in our humanness. You'd think that would be at the forefront of my mind all the time. Like, you saw this. This is incredible. You have seen. Seeing is believing. And yet you will often hear me, as you have on this podcast, bleating about how I would like more physical mediumship from spirit. I had the pinnacle of physical mediumship, the absolute most amazing bit of physical mediumship a girl could ask for. And yet I'm still here going, well, it doesn't happen. I want more than that. You think they'd want to prove it to me? And this, I think, is the really interesting thing about being a spiritual human being. You can't get rid of your humanness. You can't get rid of your doubts, your energy, your vibration. Do we think, how I was saying that I think that for some people, demons, attachments, and things are real because it's the frequency they're at. So if we take the radio stations again, they're tuning in to Radio Demon and they're getting Radio Demon back. I was tuning into Radio Demon. I no longer am. So I'm in a different station. So they are no longer part of my reality. Do you think then that in times of stress or upset, disharmony, energetic misalignment, in those moments, we are tuning out of a radio station where we can get signs? In your grief and your desperation to hear from a loved one, are you inadvertently tuning your radio station out of a station where you're going to be able to receive that? I don't know. It feels like a cruel cosmic joke, doesn't it? But it does happen. And the reason I wanted to talk to you guys about this is because it will put the wobbles up you, and that's okay. It will make you doubt your connection to spirit, and that's okay. It will make you feel like everything's been a lie. I remember begging spirit to make me well. I remember just saying, please, please, I don't want to be ill again. I can't catch COVID. I mean, I had a trip booked with my friends. I had to cancel. I lost all the money on it. My husband was trying to be sympathetic, but got bored with me just being ill all the time. I missed out on a lot of time with my children. I wasn't able to work. It affected my income, all of those things. And I was begging spirit for me to be well. And I still relapsed with COVID, caught COVID again. I'm never really sure where it came from. And I think that is easy, isn't it, to blame and be upset. It kind of leads into that. If God is real, why are children dying? And I can't really answer those things. I can't. All I can tell you in my experiences, as soon as I was well again, and I said to Spirit, where have you been? They answered with, here the whole time. And they had never left. And it's the same as me going out on stage to demonstrate and wanting some sign from spirit that they're with me. I never get that before I dem. I can film orbs. I've filmed orbs in a nightclub toilet. You can't probably think of anywhere less spiritual than a nightclub toilet. Maybe if you tried. Um, and I filmed orbs. But before I go on stage, when I'm in the room on my own before the audience arrive, nothing. Not even a speck of dust that you could try and convince yourself was an orb. Nothing. And I don't know how much of that is, for want of a better expression, a test of my faith. Uh, I've grown upness to my relationship with spirit, where they're not going to jump through hoops to prove themselves to me because they already have. And that should have been enough. And yet it's never enough. I mean, in honesty, can any of you say, in honesty, that you have had something from spirit that has stopped you asking from anything else? Because I don't think you do. I think we go, thanks for that. More, please. More, please. We're like the perpetual Oliver Twists, always wanting more, always requiring more, always needing more. And that's part of being human, I think, and nothing to be ashamed of. But I think there's also a point where spirit go, and enough. You've had enough. And you need to do this bit on your own. And need you to, for want of a better expression, step into your power and be grown up and own your journey and feel shaky and unsupported and alone for your development. I would love to know what you guys think. Um, I would love for you to get involved. Has this ever happened to you? Have you had moments in your journey where you felt cut off from spirit? Have you ever been able to make sense of the why? Do you feel that spirit just left you, or do you feel like it was you being unable to perceive them? And this is exactly the same as when we are looking at surrender in mediumship. I was talking to one of my mentorship students yesterday because she said to me, is it true, Hannah, that as you get more accomplished in your mediumship, it becomes harder? I don't understand what that's about. And I said, well, yes and no. Because at the beginning, you have no expectations of your mediumship, do you? None at all. So if you sit down in front of somebody and you say, I feel like I've got your gran here and she's showing me a cat, and they say yes, you are like, oh my God, this is incredible. I'm doing it. 2 months down the line, if you say cat, you, it doesn't feel special. You've got that information through before, or you might add more to it because you're trying to be more specific. And you might say tabby cat, and they'll say no because it was a black cat. And then you feel like you're failing. And that is the natural order of things in your mediumship. At the beginning, you have no expectations. You don't open up with a come on then, let's prove it. I've got to be good enough. I need to feel like I'm developing. I need to feel like I'm moving. You open up with that, I don't know if I can do this. This is exciting. And spirit respond. And you have no barriers in your energy because you have no expectations of what good mediumship is, or even belief that you can even do it. You just open up and it happens. As soon as we start trying to improve, as soon as we start wanting to deepen it, putting demands on our mediumship, that's when it all starts to go wonky. Isn't it ironic? Yes, it really bloody is. But it's not bad forever, because now I have done so much mediumship that when I have the holy shits before I walk out on stage, I can say to myself, it's okay, because I have done hundreds of dems and they've nearly always worked. There's been some sticky ones, as you know, but for the most part, they've worked. I know I can do this. So I don't think it gets harder forever. I think the more that you do, the more you have that knowledge that you can do this, that can talk down your imposter syndrome. But expectation absolutely cuts you off. Seeking, demands, that cuts you off. And then you'll do a reading for somebody that doesn't land right. Maybe you don't get through who they want, or they're just a difficult sitter and that wounds your energy. And then that wound sits with you and can be interference on your radio station. We know, don't we? Spirit have never gone. They've never left us. They've never deserted us. So the only thing that remains in that equation that can be causing a problem in these moments of duress when we want to get hold of spirit and it feels like they've gone is us. And that's a real blooming pain, isn't it? It's a real pain because it's the moments when we need them the most. It's the moments when, I guess, when we're demanding that they prove that they're there. Ooh, it's the moments when we're demanding that they prove that they're there, when we're unwell or the shit's hit the fan and we say, "Are you still here?" And we demand answers for what's going on. Or it's when we're doing mediumship and we say, "Prove you're here." That's what's cutting us off. Because in your heart of hearts, you know, you've had enough time with spirit, enough proof of your own abilities, enough connections, enough signs, enough magic to last you a lifetime if you would let yourself sit in that. But of course, none of us do. We're always wanting more, and we're always wanting the gratification in the moment. Myself included. God, I'm a nightmare for that. So wade in if you can. Let me know your thoughts. Have you had those experiences? Do you know what I'm talking about here? And are you still believing? Do you believe that your guides just left you? Or are you able to believe that they were there, but you were unable to feel them? And what impact did that have on your mediumship? It's a fascinating, fascinating thing. Do we not think it's by design here that there has to be it feels like it's by design for me, in me, that I believe that my faith takes a battering. That's a believing skeptic. I believe in the spirit world, but I also doubt my abilities and stuff like that. And I'm sure that those are elements of myself that I chose before I got here, because you would think that I've had enough proof by now that these things never happen, but it's not how it works. There we are. I hope this episode has been helpful and has opened you up, and let me know what you think. As always, it's so, so helpful if you could leave me a rating. You have no idea the difference that it makes. And I will catch up with you all again soon. Have a good one.